during the summer where all you pick up from the distance is a rumble that kind of shakes your house. That's infrasound. Now, the issue as to whether it's audible or not, we'll get to a little bit later. But for the purposes of the discussion, we're looking at two different things, infrasound and audible sounds. Next slide. Just as we have two different ranges of sound we're looking at, there's two different organs involved in perceiving this. Audible sound is perceived by this portion of the inner ear, the cochlea. And as you can see, and maybe you can't if you're very far back, but there's a set of nerves coming off that basically focus on the audible, the perception of audible sounds from this organ. We have this other organ up on top, the aisles of Corti, which are an entirely different set of nerves going to a different part of the brain, and these are your sense of balance. Stimulation of these organs can make you dizzy. For example, if you turn around rapidly in one spot, you're stimulating these organs, and when you're done turning around, you may still have the perception of turning because you've disturbed the fluids in these organs. Anything that causes these to react goes to a part of the brain that deals with our sense of where our body is, of motion. And it's like I said, it may be part of the same organ as the auditory system, but it is an entirely different organ in the way the body handles it. Next slide. We're talking about, again, the two types of sound from wind turbines. As the blades turn, we have what I would say is a reasonably steady sound. It's a sound that, if you're listening to it, it might sound like traffic in the distance or an airport in the distance, where you can't hear the discrete machines or cars. It's just kind of a steady noise with this aerodynamic sound to it. In addition to that, depending upon what the weather conditions are where the blades are turning, we can get swishes and thumps. We also have periodic mechanical sounds as the nacelle rotates. Inside homes, the lower frequency and the infrasound from the wind turbines can create a rumble. And one of the things that has been fairly well established over the last 10 years is that when people react to wind turbine sounds, they have a higher annoyance level for a wind turbine sound than other common community noise sources. So if we're comparing the noise of a car or traffic or a highway or an airport, we find that people react to wind turbines differently. It may be okay to be 45 or 55 decibels near a highway, but for wind turbines, that relationship's not going to be held. Let's go to the next slide. What is noise pollution? There's two ways to look at it. One of them is to take the existing, if you're looking at a new process or a new plant coming into a community, you look at what is the quietest time when that machine's going to operate or that plant's going to operate, and how much when the plant is operating will it raise the sound levels. Well, over the years we found that if you only raise the sound levels, and this would be a nighttime sound level for a nighttime operation, 0 to 3 dB, then we're not really going to have much impact. 3 to 6 will have some adverse noise impact, but it will only be for the most sensitive of the people who are in the community. Sound pressure increases of more than 6, however, begin to have more negative reaction. When we reach 10 decibels, the perception is, and I guess I have to say, when we say that a 10 decibel increase is equivalent to a doubling of loudness, that's only true if we're talking about the same noise. So if you put a fan on and then you turn it up to a higher speed and it's 10 decibels, that'll sound twice as loud. But if it's a fan and you're comparing it to the washing machine or to a car pass by, that relationship just doesn't work. It's only when you're comparing the same thing. And this is the way the New York State policy on mitigating noise impacts establishes noise pollution. Basically to try to make sure that all new noise sources coming in only increase the sound from 3 to 6. And if you've seen a noise criteria, this will typically be something that reads background noise plus 5 decibels. or background noise plus 6, depending upon how they're defining it. There's another definition, which is more of a legal definition, and I chose the one that's used in Illinois. Noise pollution is the emission of sound that unreasonably interferes with the enjoyment of life or with any lawful business or activity. So this definition is focused from the perspective of the person receiving the sound. If the noise is so loud that you can no longer use your property the way you previously were using it, for example, if a new facility comes in and you used to have patio parties, but now there's noise from the facility and you can't do it, then that's noise pollution. If you were able to sleep with your windows open before and you no longer can do that, then that's noise pollution. So these are some of the working definitions that we might want to consider. Next slide. Focusing on wind turbine noise. We all have heard that the Swedes and the Danes and the people from those countries, the Swedish area, are big promoters of wind turbines. What have they found when they've done studies? And this, I think, is a very interesting study. If you look at the big bar, the vast majority of people being exposed to noise in those countries, Sweden and the Netherlands, are exposed to levels between 35 and 40. And this is in terms of what they call LDN, which is a day-night average. If we convert that to our LEQ, a 24 operation at an LEQ of 35 dBA is roughly equal to 41.5. So in those countries that have satisfactorily integrated wind turbines in with their communities, they are limiting the noise that those people are receiving to levels of 40 and lower, not the 45 and 50 that we're being told here. And as we can also see, as time has moved forward, fewer of the people are being exposed to the higher levels in Sweden. In fact, both of these countries are now looking at reducing their wind turbine siting limits even lower due to adverse community reaction. Next slide. As I mentioned,